Okay, Marina, does being politically correct make you uncomfortable?
Me being politically correct, no. Other people being politically correct, sometimes. Because I feel like a lot of the time it's very performative. Like they just see it as what's expected of them. So they're like, oh, I won't say this and I won't say that. But then you catch them in the street and they're like, you know, they haven't changed anything about the way that they act. You know what I mean? They just don't, oh, well, it's not in the workplace. It's not right for me to say this. So I won't say it in the workplace. But then when I'm out with my friends, it's free game. You know what I mean? And I also think that a lot of people, like, what does politically correct even mean?
Let's talk about it.
That's because sometimes I feel like people will say, oh, I can't say like the R slur. What, is that politically correct? Like I have to be politically correct now? No, you just have to be like a considerate, nice person.
I feel
That's
like
not the same thing. You know what I mean? Like, why do you want to say it so bad? Oh, I'm like, it just, is that politically correct to just be nice?
what are they called? Like not snow bunnies.
Snowflakes?
Snowflakes.
Snowflakes.
Yeah, I know. I know two different
This generation nowadays is full of snow bunnies.
snowflakes
Yeah.
for people who care.
Yeah. People who get like, they say like people who get defensive about like, you know, issues. People who like advocate for issues.
Yeah.
Snowflake. You wouldn't have lasted in my day and age with outright racism. Yeah, probably not.
So what are you trying to tell me, sir? That you don't think I deserve my rights? Yes.
I guess.
Yes.
What is it? What, like, if we go on like dictionary definition, what does politically correct actually?
Okay, I think this. Okay,
Googling while you talk.
I'm going to guess, right? I think when I think about the word political, I think it's something or a topic that has multiple perspectives, different perspectives, whether they are linked to positions of power or not being in positions of power is another thing. But I think it's two different experiences that are conflating with each other. And that becomes now an issue is political because we've got different points of view that are not intersecting.
Yeah.
That's so politically correct is then saying that what you know should be the right thing to do or what you have been told is the best for everyone else in the environment, not for you, but for everyone to have a good chance of finding fulfillment in this life.
That's correct.
That's correct. So everyone gets a good go.
But we have not just equality, but like what's the other one?
Equity.
Yeah, that one. So then we have equity.
So everyone gets a good go. This is how you should behave, but it doesn't take away the selfish element of it. Yeah, this would be great for everyone, but for me as an individual in this position of privilege, I would have to share a little bit of my privilege and the way that I talk and the way that I express. And that makes me feel like a snowflake, actually.
The snowflakes are the other one. But I understand.
No, as in like, if I do that, then I'm a snowflake.
Oh, okay, I get you.
Yeah.
If I do that, if I submit to the man.
But what does it say?
It says the Oxford Languages, whatever, the one that comes up on Google. Politically correct, sometimes derogatory. Conforming to prevailing liberal or radical opinion, in particular by carefully avoiding forms of expression or action that are perceived to exclude, marginalize, or insult groups of people who are socially disadvantaged or discriminated against.
That's even worse. So you mean to tell me that by not wanting to be politically correct, you want to marginalize and insult and exclude groups of people who are socially disadvantaged or discriminated against? That's what your fight is for.
That's crazy. That's now that I know the definition, I'm kind of like, wait a second. It does make actually I am uncomfortable. I'm very uncomfortable.
Wow. Whoa.
Well, that being said, I also still feel like I will say, I think my original opinion still stands. I feel like people will be politically correct in the public eye, but then it doesn't change anything. They don't do anything about it. Like they'll be like, oh, well, I'm not going to say this word. I'm not going to say that word.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to actively while the cameras are on me and while
So it's
I'm
about
around
perception.
people. I feel like a lot of the time it's about around perception. And if you actually wanted to be a nice, considerate person, you just do it anyway. Does that make sense?
So you don't want to be a nice and considerate person?
Me?
No. I mean, hypothetically, this
I was like,
man X.
yes, patient X. Yeah, I feel like, especially not so much in everyday day-to-day life. I think especially in corporate environments and like, online spheres, all of that, people are visibly being politically correct just so that they can kind of get their little like acknowledgement of country. Good job. You know what I mean? I feel like people do it like that, and I don't know if it often comes from a sincere place. And I don't know if I'd rather just people be honest with themselves, be honest with everybody else. Like, don't.
Would you rather, or you don't know what?
I don't know. I don't know if I'd rather.
Okay.
I'm in I feel like, is it worse to be outright, or is it worse to save face and then be sneaky?
Yeah, and I can see the pros and cons of each one.
Of each one.
Me personally,
the first.
Yeah, just call me nigga. Just so I know where we're at. Like, I would rather just know
from the beginning.
From the beginning.
From the very beginning.
Where we at? Don't try fake me.
Yeah.
Don't fake me out. Don't fake me out.
Yeah. I don't know how to separate the idea of being politically correct from being a nice person. Because I feel like they are they're the same, but they also are inherently different. Because you can be politically correct but not be a nice person.
Yeah.
But you can be a nice person and still be not politically correct? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I also feel like it's very much a made-up sort of thing. There's no real rules and definitions and whatever. A lot of what insults people can be very subjective.
Yeah.
Like, some people hate it, some people don't hate it. So I feel like you're always kind of like...
And it's like, it comes down to your lived experience at the end of the day, how you're going to react to something, doesn't it?
So I don't know if there are such strict guidelines on what necessarily is politically correct.
I think I just find the word politics interesting because it's just like difference in perspectives. Like, why are we trying to make it so deep?
Yeah. Also, I don't know if not insulting people is political.
You know what I mean?
Inherently.
Yeah, because when people are like, let's not get into the politics. You mean my lived experience?
You mean my whole life? You mean me as a person? Everything I've
gone through? I mean, like,
personality?
You're really like downplaying like my entire existence when you say that. Like, it's not politics really. It's just a different way of having navigated the same environment as you know.
And I also think that a lot of people harness the word, like the phrase being politically correct, like very defensively. So like if I was saying to you, like, I don't know, I can't even think of an example, but if I was saying something to you that you then turned around to me and went, oh, actually that makes me really uncomfortable what you said, I don't know if you should say that to me, and I would turn around and went, oh, so we're being politically correct now. Like, just turn around and be like, oh, my bad, I'm so sorry.
So now it's a matter of defensiveness.
Yeah.
Now you're being instead of like actually acknowledging that you hurt my feelings, or you might not have considered my feelings when you said something, you've turned around and gone, well, freedom of speech. We don't have that in Australia.
But it's like, I don't know. I feel like I've just been going around in circles. I don't know. Being politically correct, as by the definition, sounds great. Not insulting, excluding, marginalizing people.
Yeah.
All right, whatever. But then just, I don't know, the whole concept of it?
Yeah.
Feels off. Something's not right.
Yeah. Yeah. It feels like a setup.
Yeah.
It feels like someone in a position of power wrote that word so that they could encompass all the emotion around it. Because instead of saying politically correct, if every time someone said, oh, stop being so PC, they said, stop.
Please stop insulting. Wait, no, stop not insulting.
Yeah. Stop not insulting marginalized, excluded group. Actually, I want to.
Personally,
I want to contribute to that. Then we would all sit there like, huh? But it takes the impact away from
the action.
Yeah.
The more you know.
The world is crazy.
Alison, does being politically correct make
Yes, being
it's a hard phrase to say. It's so hard. Being politically correct.
Being politically correct makes me uncomfortable. And I think like we were having this discussion downstairs where it's like when I enter an environment, I want to know what's going on. And I think under the guise of being politically correct, people are just masking their true feelings towards, I guess, politics, towards conflicts. Now I want to say towards oppression against marginalized communities.
Politics.
Yeah, like let's talk about
it. You want people to live happy, fulfilled lives no matter where they come from?
No. Yeah, so I think like I get duped. That's what I don't appreciate about political correctness being a social expectation. Because I would rather people critically engage with the matter at hand, the oppression, the discrimination, the whatever it is at hand, and make a decision for themselves, whether this is something that I've engaged with the information that this marginalized group has told me. And I'm deciding in this moment by myself to not support or to support. But that's your decision.
Yeah.
I don't want you to do things
just because they tell you to.
They tell you to.
Yeah.
It takes away this like really fundamental thing that humans should be doing in developing themselves and their individuality is like assessing information, integrating it with what you know, and then making an informed decision moving forward.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I also think that I feel like the acknowledgement of country is the easiest thing for me to like use.
Yes.
But what you're saying where you're like, oh, I don't want you to do it just because you're told to do it.
Yeah.
It takes away any sort of meaning from it. So like if you're doing the acknowledgement of country just because you're like, oh, well, I have to do it. That's what I've been told to do.
Yeah.
Then do you actually care at all? Because I'd rather you just not do it if you don't care.
But then it goes to the conversation around like intention versus impact. Because by doing that acknowledgement of country, even though you didn't mean it, you've exposed someone else to an acknowledgement of country.
But what if you're doing the acknowledgement of country, but you actually just like racist? Like, and then you sit there and you go online and you're like,
but it might have touched someone who's not racist and has never come across an acknowledgement of country before, which might get them to search it up. This is the argument that I've been exposed to in this conversation around acknowledgement of country, where people are like, the intention behind it matters, but we also acknowledge that people are just doing it because they're told to do it. And in that, at least it's touching people.
Somebody else.
At least there's some sort of like, not even recognition from the individual, but rather by the body or the organization that you know, and whether they're just doing that as a form of like placating the system or whether they actually feel any sort of like social responsibility doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, the exposure to which like the acknowledgement of country has is going to be greater than if it was just the Indigenous Australians leading you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I kind of get that, and I think that's similar with political correctness, because then the people who would have been in danger, for example, like that office context, in the corporate context, who would have been in danger in that environment are somewhat protected because people's like prejudice is somewhat stifled by the environment.
Yeah.
Because you have to act politically correct. But I think that makes it more dangerous.
Because then you get a false sense of security.
Yes.
Like, oh, well, they've done this and they've said this. This whole company talks about this and this being like a very, you know, a cornerstone of their company. But then you got like Tom, Dick, and Harry in the office next door who are like, well, we just work here. We don't care about the company's values.
I don't like being bamboozled. I don't like being catfished. I don't like being like caught off guard. And I think political correctness through that false sense of security creates a lot of scenarios where I am bamboozled. Yeah. Because I will think that we align in terms of morals because of where we're working and the type of work that we're delivering to. But because you don't feel X person doesn't feel like they can actually vocalize their discontent with me being in the room, I have one perception of our relationship, whereas you're going home at the end of the day and going, oh, I can't believe I have to work with that. Da, 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 da. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm opening myself up to freaking scenarios where I'm in danger.
Opening yourself up willingly but unknowingly.
Yes, and I'm in danger, girl. I'm in danger. Because then I come over to your house for dinner and I'm seeing gollywogs.
It's like, damn.
Is that a gun?
It's giving Get Out.
So I think it's that false sense of security, and the other element being that people aren't critically engaging with topics and are instead just being fed a narrative that is considered to be the right narrative. I don't think there's a right and wrong narrative.
There's not.
I think people can have opinions based off their previous experience and how they've lived their lives, and that's okay. We don't have to agree.
People in the same community will always have different opinions on different things. It's never going to be something that's universally acknowledged by every single person in said community that this is wrong or right. Like, there's always going to be,
even in micro communities, like the feminist movement, then you've got the womanist movement, then you've got specific ones, like specific movements around like religious oppression. Like, they're even in it, those big communities,
there's like segments
in it, like, and we just have to make room for people not to think the same as us, as long as it's not endangering or compromising someone's safety. I think it's okay for you to be like, I don't think it's okay for you to come into a workplace and be like, I'll prefer not to work with Black people. I think that's like a crazy expectation, because
that's quite good video,
because you got to look at like critically engaged. But I think it's fair for you to be like, I would prefer not to work with X person. You don't have to divulge the details, but I would rather know that you don't feel comfortable working with me than go into something
and for a reason that you can't change. Because if you think it's like, oh,
I'm not going to fight to change your perspective.
Like, if you're sitting there and you're like, oh, they don't like me because I'm like, you know, they don't think that I'm good at my work. And then you're sitting there like, oh, well, I am good at my work. So here's like X, Y, Z. And they're like, that's not the reason why. No. We don't need you to prove that you're good at your work. We don't care.
Nah, messed up. So yeah, just I feel like people they're not true to themselves anymore.
No.
And you know what? This is a tangent, but I feel like to some extent politically correctness has been exacerbated by social media. I think that people look up to social media personalities, or what are they called? Influencers. And when they look up to them, they want to enact every sort of part of their thought process.
Yeah, they want to be
like them. So they just align themselves to X people that influence them, instead of taking what they say, digesting it and saying what applies to me in my life in this present moment that I want to take or see off value or see off guidance from that thing that creator said. You just like fed narratives and fed information, but you don't actually digest it. Yeah.
Swallow it.
Yeah. That's I heard somewhere. I read somewhere. But yeah, that's what I think about political correctness. I don't think it does anyone any benefits. Like, even for the people who feel pressure to be politically correct, I feel like they feel stifled. And what is it? It's not a system. There's sort of like expectation.
Yeah, expectation.
Social expectation to behave a certain way and have certain values. I think that's where a lot of their animosity actually comes from. It's not so much from interacting with the people, but rather like not being allowed to feel what they feel. And
like, look, the ideal would be that everybody is nice to everybody and everybody is understanding and like, you know,
kind,
respectful. But that's not the reality.
No.
And sometimes you just
people suck.
Just can't let people do what they're gonna do.
And you can't change anyone. That's the other thing. You cannot change people.
If people want to change, they will do it themselves.
They have to do it themselves.
It's not going to be your, like...
Otherwise, they're faking you out.
Yeah.
Bamboozling.
And then at that point, is it worth the energy that you're going to put to it?
Not even.
So sometimes you just got to, like, let them say what they're going to say. Tell them, hey, that's kind of crazy. And then just...
I think you need to do more reading on unconscious bias. We have an e-learn for that.
There's
but thank you. And move on.
Yeah, like you just gotta protect your sanity too, because it's exhausting.
Yeah.
It's exhausting to do that for somebody else, just for them to be like, no, you don't understand.
Yeah.
I'm done. I've
Yeah.
decided.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna sit there and like waste your time trying to change them, trying to change yourself.
And it's not gonna work.
Just
It's
go.
literally not gonna work. How about you spend that energy on people who love you? Go hang out with them. People who appreciate
Are
you as
we
you
very
are.
defeatist? Sorry, as we're saying this, I'm like, damn, are we really just like, are we the lie down and take it type of people?
What do you mean?
We're sitting here, we're like, you know what? People are just gonna be mean, and we just gotta
Let
it be mean.
I'm not gonna take it. Like I'm still going to like guide you to some tools, like something for you to have a different perspective.
Yeah.
Or I might challenge you, but I'm not gonna sit there and like debate.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? I might challenge you and give you another perspective, give you another narrative, but I'm not going to. I'm not wasting my energy on it.
yeah. Once it starts getting like aggressive,
back
you're
and
like,
forth,
well,
oh man,
okay, obviously this is what you think, so I'm just gonna.
I don't have energy for all that. I have things to do.
Yeah, we got our own lives.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
And there's enough trouble in there.
That's it from us, guys. If you want to join the conversation, please head on over to our Instagram.
If you like this episode, like, comment, share. You know what to do.
Peace, love. See you next time.